What's good, everybody? We are back. It is your boy Jarod and your girl Gabby, episode 77 of the Kicks and Shit Show. Yeah, see, your kid. I'm the day that I busted out.
We're taking a moment of silence for.
It's just going to surprise you. But this is episode 77. It is our Luka Doncic episode, right? I mean, we're out here in these holiday streets. Gabby, where in the world are you today?
Your girl's cold. I'll put it that way. I'm
back on the East Coast.
Let me tell you, don't get me wrong. What a beautiful time of year it is. This is my favorite time of year. Like fall sports leading up into like the beautiful holidays in New York. But I haven't been able to feel my toes since I got back. So this is, I'm only wearing one pair of pants right now. And it's not even that cold. I think like you wouldn't know I grew up in New Jersey.
Right. Your brain, your body's just so Vegas used to now.
Temperature. Yeah.
Yeah, you're a full Vegas.
West Coast and
you're a full Vegas lady now. Listen, I almost even
I want to say, Jarod, I was also in Atlanta.
I mean,
California.
But Vegas is really your second home, and I feel like you're starting to forget some of your New York teams. I feel like you're out here, Vegas Raiders, Vegas Golden Knights. I mean, I'm just saying,
I'm sorry. I'm on the record.
I'm messing with you.
On the record.
I'm messing with you. I know you're not. I'm just teasing.
By the way, we are recording this when I have literally just told Jarod I have Knicks Lakers tickets for tomorrow night. So your girl going to be back at the Garden. It's going to be a vibe.
Not seeing LeBron, but that's okay.
No. Whatever, it's fine. I don't need to see him.
Because you don't like LeBron anyway.
No, I've seen him enough. He's fine. Said literally only me. Yeah, everybody else.
I mean, it's whatever. It's
sorry, Jenna, but
Jenna's so angry right now. Listen, shout out to Jenna Lemon.
Crying in her apartment, literally like getting the wavelengths of this conversation. But no, I mean, I love New York sports, and I will always be a New York fan. But as you know, and maybe our listeners don't know, but I'm somebody who travels for sports as well, right? So like, your girl has to go to Cleveland for SneakerCon in a couple
Cavaliers.
The Browns are also home. The Cavs aren't home, unfortunately, when I'm there, but the Browns are home. So like, I might try to go freeze my little chi-chis off and go see some football.
Head to the dog pound, see a little Cleveland Browns.
100%. I might be going to Seattle in a couple weeks.
The Kraken.
Sports in town. I know. I'm very intrigued. I like this expansion league for hockey. I know we don't talk about hockey that much, but the whole expansion is very fascinating. It's like, let me see who I like on all the teams and kind of pick people who are already in the league. I mean, it's not like you're taking the best players, but these are people that are already proven to know how to play NHL level hockey.
And listen, expansion is all about the leagues needing more money. I mean, it might be fascinating from a fan standpoint, but this is a pure straight money grab by the leagues being like, damn, we need some cash infusion. Let's expand. My thing about expansion is I don't love it because it waters down the product, right? It's like, great, now we have 2 more teams that are terrible. Like, that's not my jam. I love having teams that are elite. My thing is, I'm all for contraction. How about we get rid of some teams, right? Like, I'm down with that.
Who would you get rid of, Jarod? I would love to know more. I'm into this idea.
In the NHL or in any sport?
Any sport. Like, who are you voting off the island?
So NBA, look, man. So I think 30 is exactly the right amount. So I'm not necessarily contracting. But listen, the Pelicans, New Orleans just ain't hot for you right now. New Orleans, by the way, to be clear, one of my favorite cities domestically. I love New Orleans. New Orleans don't care about basketball. The Pelicans are like 5th behind like LSU baseball. Okay? Like, it's just
that nation. Absolutely.
Yeah, right. It's Saints, it's 100%. LSU football, it's everything else LSU. Oh yeah, Pelicans maybe. So why don't you move the Pelicans up to Seattle, who need their team back? Shout out Sonics.
Wait. So before we started recording this show, I was saying to Jarod, like, we were talking about manifestation, right? It's like, I very much believe in what you put out there comes back to you in some form or another. It might not be immediate. Like, if I say, I'm going to make a bold bet and say the Pelicans are going to Vegas to be the NBA team there. I'm calling it here now.
Okay.
You heard it first.
All right.
Doesn't mean it's going to happen tomorrow. But I think Vegas needs a team. You know that Golden State isn't going there. I mean, we can rob Oakland of every other team that they have, but
No, Golden State's not going there.
Golden State's not going.
And Golden State's in San Francisco now anyway, in a brand new arena, so they're staying. I'm trying to think.
I mean, they're not going, but I feel like if a team is going to Vegas,
right,
I'd put my money on the Pelicans. I mean, I would love to see a Seattle Supersonics reboot. Yeah, bring back Gary the Glove, a little Sean Kemp action for those alumni games. Would love to see it, but I think Vegas is where I'm going to bet my money if I had to.
Oh, I mean, they're look, that, I mean, that's duh. Like that's for sure where the NBA will expand to. Like that's not a guess. Like, of course. But again, please don't water down this product. Like it's, it's just, no, like they'll tell you, oh, it'll make competition better because now you won't be able to have 3 stars on a team. Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, listen, man.
They met the NBA. They still will be able to. I was going to say
the good teams and the teams that have money will still find a way. Because the problem you have in the NBA, Jesus Christ, Gabby, is...
I take that as a compliment.
You have a lot of cities that are not necessarily attractive for young rich men who are single to live in, right? Like, so it's like, they're like San Antonio, I'm good. Like, I mean, right?
I will say San Antonio is a surprising nice city, so I'm surprised that's the one that you went after.
It's one of the first ones that came up, but it's like, Oklahoma City, like, nah, I'm good. You know what I mean? Like, they're just certain spots. Again, Chicago, Denver's cool, any of the California teams. I mean, Sacramento's a little rough, but at least you're not. I mean, you got money, so you're not too far away from San Francisco. Of course, the New York teams work. Detroit, Cleveland. I mean,
But I mean, it's about where there's opportunity, right? Like you knew LeBron was going to either retire in LA or New York, and it had nothing to do with basketball. I mean, maybe a little bit of basketball legacy, but most of it was what happens afterwards. I mean, I wasn't surprised to see OBJ go out to LA.
The Rams.
Like Victor Cruz is Victor Cruz, not only based on his football, but because he was a footballer in New York, which gives him access. He also is a handsome man who was great on the field and very stylish.
Got some salsa moves too,
You think of Victor Cruz, I'm not even going to say it because I love Victor Cruz, but if he was in another market that was like a secondary city,
right?
You think that he would be salsaing his way into New York Fashion Week? I think not,
Maybe not Fashion Week. I mean, because the NFL is so different because it's only a weekly sport, like he still may be relevant, but like not in the way I think you're right about New York.
Totally.
But anyway, these are all fascinating conversations we're having. But Gabby, we have to, move things forward because we have a special guest coming up. Someone from the world of the NBA, their digital content creator, Sneakerhead, just an all-around cool individual. Looking forward to chatting with this person, and you guys stay tuned. Peace. What's good, everybody? We are back. Gabby, we're not alone. We are joined by a man who, I met this dude at Barclays Center, and all of a sudden I'm like, man, who's got that heavy-ass Australian accent? Like, what the... Turn around, I'm like, look at this guy, tatted up. I'm like, he's funny. He's got jokes. I'm like, he's got some wild takes. This guy is cool. He's a digital journalist. You might have seen him on ESPN Australia in the past. You might have seen him do stuff with NBA, with Sporting News, NBA, like all kinds of different places. He has a digital show out right now called The Last Shot. He is live from Australia, folks, down under. Nick Metallinos. What's up, man?
Yeah, what's happening, guys?
Yeah.
Yes, Nick is also missing New York, as you can tell by his yeah.
Yeah. I was actually watching Jesus and Mero last night too, so I was just all the memories were coming back.
So how are you, man?
National guest on here.
Yes, you are.
I'm the first international guest.
You certainly are.
We're going global.
And gang. I love it.
Nick is awesome, man. This guy is like, he's done so many different things in the world of journalism, sports, NBA, just everything. Of course, he's a sneaker guy, which is why we got him on the pod. But Nick, I really want to start with, first of all, how are things in Australia right now?
We're getting back to normal. Like we went through, like, I don't know if you guys heard about it over there. We went through, like, heavy lockdowns. So we went through like 6 of them actually. And the most recent one was 10 weeks. And we just got out of that about 3, we're close to 4 weeks now. So life is just starting to get back to, like, it's weird because when you guys, I mean, obviously we know what happened in America. Like there was, countless lives lost and that sort of stuff. And we were like, okay down here. We didn't really have many cases. Then we locked down. We got down to like 0 cases and we opened back up again. So when we opened back up again and you guys were still sort of like kind of locked down and there was restrictions or whatever was happening, we were like, oh yeah, we're all good over here, and then like slowly. And the thing is with us, it never got out of control. I will give our government credit for that. Like, as much as I hated the lockdowns, I will give them credit for that. Like it never got out of control. I think the most we ever had was like 1,000 cases a day or maybe just over 1,000 or something like that. Minimal lives lost. So look, man, hopefully it's all behind us now because, I mean, the majority of the population here is vaccinated. I think we're at 90% now.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, we're at 90%. So I think now we're going to be getting back to some sort of normal life. We're allowed to travel again because we weren't allowed to travel for the last 18 months. So, yeah, fingers crossed.
You see that, folks? That is our PSA for a functioning government. That's how things work, right? When governments function well.
They did a half-decent job.
I was like, this is where we going today, Joe? This is where we're going.
Listen, I'm just, they handled that pretty well. I mean, better than, some parts of our government handle it. I'll say that for sure.
Yeah. Look, I mean, they've done, like I said, we've had minimal lives lost. I don't know what the total number of deaths is here, but it's definitely not 500,000. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
They've done well in that regard. I give them credit there.
For sure. All right, Nick. So, I mean, we met at Barclays Center in Brooklyn, so obviously covering the NBA. When did your love of basketball start? And, how did you sort of journey from that love of basketball to, man, I got to be around this all the time and somehow find a way to get paid for this?
Yeah, it's weird. So I've always been into basketball. So when I was about 8 or 9, I had some older cousins and they were like heavy into it. They were mad basketball, fans, played it, went to the local league down here. They took me to a game down here. My team was the North Melbourne Giants. And funnily enough, I was into our local league before I knew about the NBA. So I started going to some games down here and I was like, man, I really love this. Started playing it at school, like joined the Bulleen Boomers, which is actually who Kyrie's dad used to play for when Kyrie was, when his dad was out here playing. So I played with that, junior level. And then my cousins were showing me games on TV. And back then, I mean, even till I don't say a few, but the recent times, we weren't getting many NBA games down here. So back then it was like especially hard. And they showed me a game and it was the Bulls. And they were like, you got to watch this guy, So I was like, oh, this guy looks pretty good, you know what I mean? The Bulls I believe they hadn't won the first championship yet, right? Because, so this is how old I am. So this was around 89. And this sort of my love of sneakers. I saw the Jordan 4s, the white cements, right?
Yep.
And I was like, I saw a kid at my school who had them, and I saw that Nike Air, and I was like, yo, I love this. I'm going to go off on a tangent here. I'm sorry.
All good.
And I was like, oh, they're the Jordan. You know what I mean? So I was like, all right, so that guy there on TV is wearing these shoes. And so it all kind of tied in for me. I've loved the game, don't get me wrong, but I've loved the off-court stuff that came with it as well, the sneakers, the fashion, all that sort of stuff. But back to my love of basketball. So I just started playing and I was real heavy into it, and I got into the NBA heavy, and we used to have like a highlight show on Saturday mornings here at like 10:30 in the morning. So I used to get up and watch that and try and consume as much as I could. But it was hard because basketball wasn't like a big sport down here back then, like you couldn't just open the paper and find out if the Bulls had won or the Knicks, whatever it might be. As I got older, I always loved it. Like I knew this is like my favorite sport. This is what, my dad was a journalist. So I guess writing has always been in my blood. But I wasn't sure that I wanted to do it for a living until like later. Like I knew I wanted to be involved with basketball. I was trash, so I couldn't play it at a high level. It just took me a while to figure out, like, I'm also a qualified personal trainer, right? So I started working as a personal trainer for a little bit. And then I was just like, you know what? I'm not really enjoying this, like this is not what I want to do with my life. This is probably when I was about 20, 25, 26. And then by this stage, we had like a basketball magazine down here called Handle Magazine. And I reached out to the editor and I was like, yo, I'm willing to go back to school if I have to, but I want to write about basketball. What can I do? And he goes, look, man, just write some articles. And if they're good, we'll publish them. We go from there. So I started writing articles for he had like an online website. It wasn't an online magazine. It was just a website. So I started writing articles for that. And he was like, look, eventually when you get to like a good level, we'll publish, in the magazine. So I was doing that for a little bit. And I was just about to have some articles published in the magazine, and the magazine went under, right? Because again, it's just the money behind it down here in Australia. There's not enough money for this sort of stuff. So the magazine goes under, and I was like, all right, what am I going to do now? Like, how do I, because I was reaching out to like anyone I could down here, and they were like, oh, well, where's your portfolio? You don't have experience. You don't have, and I was like, well, give me the experience.
Right.
How do I get the experience if you don't give it to me?
Exactly.
And I couldn't kind of break in. So I was like, well, I've got to create my own lane, So I started my own website. My friend's a graphic designer. We built this thing from scratch, built it up, started covering the local, the NBL league down here. I was doing that. But while I was doing that, I would come over. So my first time in the US was 2008, all right? And New York, even before I went there, I knew I wanted to live there. Like, I've always been obsessed with New York, right? Like, you know what I mean? New York hip-hop. Like, I just grew up on that sort of stuff. So I get there, I'm like, I want to live in the city one day. So when I started doing this journalism thing, I would fly to America for like a month at a time. LA, it was mostly LA and New York, but I traveled to a couple other places. Mostly LA and New York, cover as many NBA games as I could, and then come back. And every time I would come back, I was like, it would be because I'd see how the NBA would do it, and then I'd see how the NBL would do it. This is not a knock on the NBL, but they don't have the resources and the budgets and everything that the NBA does. And I was like, no, I need to be in like the big league. You know what I mean? That's where I need to be. So it took me a couple of years. Like, I went to America 2009, 2010, twice in 2011. And then I was like, I need to go to New York. And I got myself a visa. And then 2012, I moved over to New York, and just started covering the Nets. I mean, the league as a whole, but as you know, based in New York, we go to mainly the Nets games. So, and then like I was just freelancing for a few places, the hustle, just trying to get it, make it. And then 2016, I think it was 2016, September 2016, when Ben Simmons it was meant to be his rookie season, but he ended up getting injured. And that's when I started with ESPN. And then I was with ESPN for 3 and a bit years. And then, didn't lose my job, but it was just the result of some budget cuts because I used to host a show for them, like a social style show, talking about sneakers, NBA, all that sort of stuff. So they kind of axed it due to budget cuts. And then I was like, all right, let me just chill out in Australia for a bit, because I was actually back here when it happened. I was visiting family and I was meant to come back to New York. And I was like, oh, let me just chill here for a little bit. And then COVID hit and your boy's still here.
You've been there ever since.
So wild.
Yeah,
it was crazy time.
No, but that's the story though, Nick, right? Like for so many people, because like you said, like I need the experience, but you're not giving me the experience. But what did you do though? All right, I'm going to start my own thing then, right? Like that's, if you really want to do something and people are saying no, you have to find a way to, well then I'm saying yes, fine. You say no, forget you. I'm going to do it somehow because this I know is what I'm meant to do.
All facts. I mean, the funny thing is, so I dropped out of a writing course, right, that I was doing after I finished high school. And I did it for a little bit. And like I said, because my dad was a journalist, like I kind of grew up around this as well, right? So, and I've always been good at writing. Like I couldn't add up 3 + 3, but I could write you 1,000 words like that. So I was always good at it, but I dropped out of this course because I was just like, I knew you had to get through the easy stuff or the simple stuff to get to the good stuff. But I was just like sitting in class and I'm like, man, I know all this. And I dropped out, right? And funnily enough, when I got back, a professor or a teacher, I don't know what they called, I don't want to get anyone offside, hits me up and he's like, I'm from Holmes Glen Institute. He goes, I do a sports writing course there. He goes, can you speak to my class? Like, I want you to speak to And I was like, oh. I go, man, this is like, the world is funny, you know what I mean? I go, because funnily enough, I said, I dropped out of this very class. And then I was like, I go, listen, I don't want to lie to these kids. Like, I need to tell them that I dropped out. I don't want to sit up here and, tell them like, nah, whatever. And he goes, no, man, like, tell them. And he goes, we want you to show them that there's other ways possible. Like, we're not telling you to tell them to drop out,
right.
But to let them know that there's other ways and other, paths to get to your ultimate goal. And I ended up doing that, talking to that class. I spoke to him for like an hour or so. And one of the guys was like, so do you recommend I drop out of class? And I was like, oh, shit, man, I wish he hadn't asked me that.
You're like, yeah, no, not what I want to talk about.
I don't will not get your money back if you do.
I was kind of like wanting to tell him, look, man, in this day and age, and I'm sure you guys know this very well from first-hand experience too, right? I think it's easier to create your own path rather than to go. And university in America is much more expensive than it is down here.
Damn
and
right.
You're going to drop $200,000, $300,000, I don't know what they cost over there, on something that you could do without that. Like, I feel like a diploma, yes, it helps, and it's going to open some doors. But if you're willing to put in the hard work and do it your way, you don't really need that.
Yeah, so I think that the interesting thing there, Nick, and I love that you brought this up, you're right. Like, yeah, the diploma is important, gives you a foundation. If you can do it and not be in debt when you get out of it, great. I encourage you to do that. But if you're going to carry $200,000 plus of debt, you got to really think about it, because ultimately it's about how much work you're willing to put in. Because people are going to say no when you get out of college with a degree. They're going to be like, oh, you don't have any experience. Yeah. No kidding, I don't have any experience, right? Because I've been in college for the last 4 years, right? It is literally about, and if you're going to go the route of, okay, I'm going to create on my own, it's about the grind and the hustle. Like, it's literally like you cannot stop. Like, weeks off doing Lord knows what, fooling around watching Netflix, not the answer, my friends. Like, if you're going to do it, you got to really be about it and do it. You spend your own money, right? Like, we'll be on Amtrak, taking trains to Philly to go see whoever, catch this playoff game.
I did that so many times.
Right. This is, if you want to do this is what you got to do.
Find a way to make it work. It's like an athlete in a way, right? You're getting in those reps, you're practicing, you're finding your own path. All of a sudden you end up at the New York Knicks,
100%. It's true. It's true. Like, everyone saw me, like, towards the end, obviously, with ESPN, right? And they didn't see all the work that I did before that. They just saw, Nick Metallinos, ESPN, and they thought it was easy. Like, I think I spoke about this with Dex and Brian on their podcast, with Scotto and a couple of the boys that come along. And I was like, man, people don't see that hard work that goes into getting towards ESPN. Yep. Like you said, I was paying my own way to Philadelphia to go interview players over there on the Greyhound. Then Port Authority at 2 a.m. is not a pretty place.
Certainly not.
So no one saw that. They just saw me with ESPN. We're flying, we're doing this, we're got that. And they're like, oh, you're living hard. And I'm like, man, I paid my dues to get here.
Yeah. Gotta grind, and that's the thing. And we always say that to people when guests come on. They look at the Instagram and see the final product, and I'm like, yep, that's fun, and we want you to enjoy that. Reel. But that is the highlight reel. Like, it's why does Kevin Durant shoot 67% from the mid range? Because he shoots 1 billion jumpers in his lifetime. That's why. The countless millions of hours of work. That's why you can do it when the lights are on. Like, and that's 100%. That's the stuff the hard work that no one wants to talk about or do. But that's what gets you ready for this.
Yeah, and I think it's also it's the different paths, right? That's the one thing that I think is consistent about the people that we have on that really follow their dreams, right? It's like no one is like, oh yeah, everybody said yes to me when I was going to try this out. And it's like finding your own lane and kind of creating that path for you. But I know, I mean, Jarod knows I talk all about New York basketball all the time. But talk more about how you fell in love with the Knicks in that time. I mean, the Garden's a special place, as people know, but like, what was it about the Knicks that really drew you in?
It wasn't so much about the Knicks initially. It was more Michael Jordan, right? Because when I first started watching NBA, it was Michael Jordan. So I was probably more of a Bulls fan, right? And then the team that I fell in love with the Knicks was the 90s. I'm going to get my years mixed up. Maybe you guys can help me. Remember the year that they were up 2-0 on the Bulls? And I think it was the second round of the playoffs? They ended up in that series, right? But when they went, like, that was the year I was like, you know what? I like the Knicks, right? And it was more to do with my love of New York, even though young kid, I still had never been there. But I was just obsessed with New York City. And look, I'm going to be completely real with you. I'm not like a diehard Knicks fan like a lot of people, right? I've gone through phases where I've hated them, right? In particular.
That makes you a diehard man fan. I was going to say, we accept you.
Okay, cool. Because it was, so remember the year that the Knicks won 54 games in 20, that was my first year in New York, right? Mm-hmm. And I was like, sometimes I was in the press box and I was like cheering, you know what I mean? Like speaking, Melo was knocking down the threes.
The Melo year, yeah.
Like, that was a fun team, right?
You were going through to the dome as you walked out the
dome, man. I was in the press box. I was like, oh.
No cheering in the press box.
No cheering in the press box. And then the year after, they won, I think, 37 games. And I believe it was the year after that, they won 17 games, right? And that was when I was like, because I was at the Garden night in, night out, and right, you see the curtain pulled back a little. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yo, this is the year that they won 17 games, and for a period there, I was just like, you know, I'm a Lakers fan. Like, I like LeBron, right? So I was like, I kind of want, LeBron to win or whatever. So, but I'm back with New York, like, and it's not jumping on a bandwagon or anything like that. Like I said, for the most part of my life, they've been the team that I've supported, It was more to do with the city than anything else in the beginning. Mm-hmm. But I did love, like, there is a part of me that does miss those games that were like 74-77.
It's like a grudge match to even get to 80.
A rock fight. Those games that set the offensive game of basketball back 20 years.
Brick versus brick.
I miss them sometimes.
All right, let's get into sneakers a little bit, man. You talked about how when you saw the Jordan 4s, you were like, yo, what are these? So, okay, I assume you found a way to get a pair of those. No, you didn't. Okay.
So it was 89, so the Jordan 4 white cement, Nike Air on the back. And I remember telling my mom, I said, this is what I want. All right. And she goes to me, I don't know, for whatever reason, she thought, we'll get them from Greece. They'll be cheaper in Greece. I don't know why she thought Greece would have the latest Jordan 4s back then, right? But we never got them from Greece, right? So the next year, the Jordan 5 comes out, the black with the metallic tongue. And I was like, that's the one, right? Now, I've mentioned my dad a couple of times. My dad was like a deadbeat father, right? So he was basically never in my life, just a few instances here and there. Here's one time I asked him to get me those Jordan 5s, right? And we go down to the shops and they had them there. And I can't remember the exact price because it's just so long ago, right? But he was like, they're too expensive. Right? And look, fair enough. They probably were especially back then, right? Because they're too expensive. This is the one thing that sticks out in my mind, and this is the one thing I remember. He bought me Reebok pumps, right, which I should not be complaining about. He bought me Reebok pumps, the Twilight Zone ones, the really high ones. Mm-hmm. So he bought me those, which were like $15 or $20 cheaper than the Jordans. And I'm like, why didn't you just give me the Jordans that I wanted, right? So I didn't even end up with those Jordans. I got the Reebok pumps. My first ever Jordans that I ever bought, or I was given by my mum, were the Jordan 7 Barcelonas when they came out.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was raised by a single mum, so I got like one pair of shoes and they had to last me for
the whole year until you change your shoes,
whatever it may be. So I beat the hell out of those. And then as I got a little bit older, I remember I had the Jordan 3 retros in 94, which was, I think, the first year that they retro Jordans. I had those with the Nike Air on the back, beat them up, wore them to school every day for like a year. As I got older, I didn't get the Jordan 4s when they retroed them in 99, but I did get the Jordan 5s. I actually only just recently threw those out because they completely disintegrated, but I had them for like 21 years almost. When I got older, I was like, all right, I got my own money. I'm going to start buying everything that, which is a similar story to pretty much
everybody.
All of us, right? Mm-hmm. So 2012, they re-released the Jordan 4 white cement. Had the Jumpman logo on the back, but I was like, you know what? I'm buying this because it's the Jordan 4 and it's what I wanted. you remember those retros from that era. They were not good, right? That leather quality was like cardboard. It was just a terribly made shoe. And I wore them, I think, twice, and I got rid of them, right? And I got rid of them because I knew eventually they were going to re-release with the Nike Air on the back. 2016 comes around. They come out with a Nike Air on the back. I didn't get them. They sold out. You know what I mean? Right? And the resale on those is just ridiculous. Like, they're going for right now in Australia close to $800, right? And that's about 600 US, I think, something like that.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah, so it's about 600 US, 650, something like that. And I just refuse to pay extortion prices on those. So
I like that, extortion prices.
I did get them again, but I don't have them again, if that makes sense.
No, well said. So I take it you went there. Let's talk about the resale market. I'm sure you don't love it. I mean, obviously with digital, it makes it, you can be wherever you are in the world. What's it like though? So how do you feel about that piece of it, the digital? And then what's it like on the ground in Australia in the secondary market, right? Can you find rare pairs, or it's like, nah, same thing here. It's going to cost you a ton of money.
Yeah, basically, we'll start with that one first. Like, especially over the last few years, more and more consignment stores have been popping up down here. But, some of these guys are just out of touch with what is actually happening. Like, I can't remember, there was a pair I was looking at recently, right? And StockX had them for like 300 Australian. And these, not just one, like a lot of these consignment stores were selling them for like 450. And I'm like,
dude.
Like, why would I even come here when StockX is selling it for $150? But like, you can't tell me it's because of your overheads or whatever it is. It's you're preying on people that, like, I'm not going to pay that better. You know, they're preying on people that don't know any better. Like a young kid going to go tell his mum, man, I really want these. I saw them in the store. She doesn't know about X or Goat or, you know, whatever it is. You're going to go to the store and buy these kids $450 sneakers that you can get for cheaper. As far as the resale, you know, thing, like, it is what it is, right? Like, we can't really do anything about it. Like, I've kind of, don't get me wrong, I've paid resale maybe, I want to say 5-6 times in my life, right? 3 of those were probably over retail, because I think the other 3 pairs I got them for under. So technically it wasn't even resale prices. I got them on the resale market, but for under retail. And I've kind of like set myself a limit. I'm like 500 to 600 Australian, which is about 380, 400 American. Like, that is the absolute most I will pay. And it's got to be for something that I really, otherwise, I'm good.
Yeah.
Like, the most I've paid, I'm going to pull them out now. The most I've paid on a resale was for these.
Oh, I love that. So I wear those for Knicks auditions every year. That's one of my favorite sneakers. Yeah.
That's why you keep getting the job.
That's correct. That's exactly true.
I paid $550 Australian for these. Right? And I think I bought it in 28. It was about a year or so after they came out. It was a 2017 release. So it was about a year or so after they came out. I still haven't worn them.
I said they look like they look in a lot better condition than mine. That's for sure.
I don't mind one beat up though.
No, it's not bad, but it's tough though. To your point, like, it's like you really have to shop around the resale markets, right? Because if StockX is cheaper, I mean, a lot of places up in New York use StockX as kind of that gold standard. So Jarod knows I was looking for a pair of Wave Runners, one of my grails that I love, and I found them $150 cheaper on eBay.
Yeah.
And I was like, how could I not? But it's true. A lot of the people don't know, and then their consumers don't know. So they just keep buying all these sneakers and perpetuating this resale culture.
The prices exist because somebody pays them, right? Someone out there is paying them. That's why they have them.
That's exactly right. Like, something's only worth what someone's willing to pay for it, right? And it's the same thing we're going to go back to an NBA example right now. Philadelphia 76ers are holding out because they're wanting, you know, to get half the NBA All-Stars back in for Ben Simmons. And it's like, buddy, Daryl Morey, if those offers are not coming in, like, what are you holding out for here? You know what I mean? if they're not willing to pay that price, then he's not worth that price. You know, Ben Simmons is an amazing NBA player, but if all you can get back is De'Aaron Fox and Buddy Hield, buddy, you're going to have to take
Maybe you take that. But listen, Nick, Daryl said this is going to go on 4 years if it has to. I'm fine waiting 4 years.
They're paying him anyway.
I was going to say, I can't imagine Josh Harris is going to wait 4 years for that. He's going to tell Daryl, look, buddy, we got to move on from this situation here. Well, we're here, NBA. What, because, we got to do it since we're here on the show. What are you liking so far that you're seeing early trends? We're getting to that 20 game mark. And for me, like I'm sure for you, 20 games is when I can start being like, okay, here are trends that I think can hold up. Because usually by the 20 game mark, barring some injury or some major thing happening, this is about what your team's going to be, right? Portray it out for 82 games.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, the team that has surprised me is actually the Warriors, to be perfectly honest. I did not think that, look, they've had an easy-ish schedule up until now, but it's not even, you can only beat who's in front of you, right? And they've done it very, very impressively. And they've got no Clay. Look, we don't even know what Clay's going to be like when he gets back, because he's had 2 major injuries, hasn't played ball for like 2 years. So we don't even know what kind of player he's going to be when he gets back. They've looked good. I was never convinced on the Lakers, and I think the Lakers are pretty much what I expected them to be. They're going to be, I think, maybe just over a 500 team at the end of the season. There's a lot of chemistry issues on that team, and they've got Russell Westbrook, who is a killer.
I like that. I see what you did there.
I'm not a fan, Gabby, of him at all. At all. So
I love it.
You're gonna get a lot of Westbrook hate from me. So I was never convinced on the Lakers. Warriors and Jazz are looking good out west. I don't think Denver's got what it takes.
Well, and now with Denver, Michael Porter Jr. might be out for the whole season now. Nerve issue in the back, which they already don't have Jamal Murray.
Serious,
so
yeah.
So that's going to be tough. Phoenix is scorching, and I was looking at it last year, and I was like, last year was kind of like the perfect storm for them. The Lakers had these injuries. They ended up beating them in the first round. They just kind of opened up, the path for them to make the finals. But you know what? It's kind of looking like the perfect storm is going to for them. Look, it's still early, to sort of make a definitive statement on that, but they're looking good. Out in the East, I said this on my show yesterday. I'm going to stick with it. If Milwaukee is healthy, and they look like they're getting back into some health now, Middleton's back, through Holiday's being back, I still like them to come out of the East, and I still like them to win that title, because my guy Giannis is, I'm saying it right now, the best player in the world.
Wow, you heard it here, folks. Nick Metallinos shouting out his fellow Greek brother, Giannis Antetokounmpo. See that? People are like, Jarod, what do you mean Nick is Greek? I'm like, yeah. He is an Australian national of Greek descent. Come on, people.
And a Knicks fan.
And a Knicks fan. By the way, Nick, this is something that always bugs me about Americans.
Oh, boy.
No. It's that thing where Americans, people born in literally the United States, whose parents were also born in the United States, call themselves Greek or German or Irish or whatever. I'm like, but you're not. I'm like,
from New Jersey.
You are American.
You could say all the rest of it,
I was like, you are from the United States. I was like, you may have Greek, Irish, Italian ancestry, but you are not actually. You're not that. Like, you're just not.
Yeah. It's funny. My sister's got 3 kids, right? They're 9, 7, and 5. And my sister's husband is Lebanese, right? So they've got mixed heritage. But I tease them. I'm like, man, you guys are little Aussies. I go, you little Aussies. Arabic. I go, you were born in Australia. I go, you little Aussies. He's like, what are you? I'm like, no, I'm Greek. I go,
I'm Greek.
He goes, you can't tell by my accent that I'm Greek.
I got that once in America, actually, Gabby. I was talking, and I can't remember the conversation. So obviously she heard my accent. And I think in the conversation somewhere, I was like, yeah, Greek. And she looked at me and she goes, wait, you're Greek and Australian? And I was like, Italian Americans? I go, Same thing.
That's amazing.
Oh man, it's one of my jams, man. I'm like, people, you gotta like understand like, you know, nationality, right? Like the nation where you were born versus like what your actual cultural heritage is, right? There's some differences there, subtle differences.
If you've been like, you know, like you said, if it's a few generations that have been in a country, you know what I mean? Like,
you're American.
My parents were, you know, they came here in the mid-70s, so I'm first generation.
Yes.
You know, so that's why I've still got more of a tie to.
Correct.
We grew up speaking Greek. We grew up in a Greek household.
Of course. Makes 100% sense.
Every couple of years, so you know. But whereas, like I said, my sister's kids, they're not going to grow up speaking Greek. They're not going to. It's going to be different for them, and then obviously their kids, and then they're just going to be little Australians.
more little Aussies. Nick, this is dope, man. But everybody stay tuned, because coming up next is America's favorite segment, Shoe and Tell, presented by Another Lane. Listen, y'all know how much we love I can't even talk, Adina and Chad. But you know, listen, stay tuned, because I know Nick's got some special heat. He already showed you guys a little quick preview. I know there'll be some more good stuff coming up, so stay tuned. What's up, y'all? We are back, and you know what time it is. America's favorite segment, Shoe and Tell, presented by Another Lane. Guys, Adina Jones, Chad Jones, husband and wife, listen, they are doing the damn thing over there. Nick, I know you know those guys. Like, listen, if you don't know Sneaker Galactus, I mean, can you really even call yourself someone in the sneaker game if you don't know who that is?
Nah.
You cannot.
I mean,
no, shout out to Chad and Adina. They're doing great things with Another Lane. I've known them for a few years, and great people. So I always want to see great people do great things.
See, we love it. We love when they get love for the sponsors here. Yes,
that's right.
Awesome. Nick.
And I won't even charge them for that. That was on the house.
See, and I know they're watching too, so this is a free one for y'all. So make sure you note that down in our agreement. Nick, listen, Shoe and Tell is your show, my friend. So you take it away.
All right. Well, I had to bring these out, right, because we spoke about the Jordan 4s, and I never really got the Jordan 4 white cement, but I have got
the classic.
I mean, those are just so clean, man.
And I love these. I've actually got the fire reds as well with the Nike Air on the back.
My favorite.
Anything that's got like Jordan 4s that's got Nike Air on the back, sign me up. Like, as long as I can get them. Like, I really love the Union collab. I think they've done great things with that one there. But man, those prices as well are just ridiculous.
And almost super hard to get. So there's also that.
Yeah, like I've kind of given up on that one there. So any Jordan 4 though with the Nike Air on the back, sign me up. I'm going to be in for that. And then I've already showed you the ones. So I'm not like a real huge Air Force guy, but anything I love, as we've said, I love New York City. So anything that I see that's got like a connection to New York City, I'm going to get. So I got the NY.
Yep.
Forces, got the little Dykeman thing on there.
Yep. Shouts to Dykeman.
Stevens, everybody.
I mean, can you call yourself a New York Hooper or New York Hoop Scene and never been to Dykeman? Like, come on, you got to get up to Dykeman.
If you haven't played at Dykeman, you haven't played. And then I've also got the Kiss NYC
nice
ones. I need to get the Dipset ones that came out.
Dipset.
Was
it earlier this year, or I've lost track of
Yeah, it was during the pandemic. I remember I was like sitting at my work computer getting blocked with the cookies. And I was like, it's in my cart. It's awful.
You know what happened? Funnily enough, I was trying to order them off the Kiss website, right? And I've ordered stuff off Kiss as well, and they ship to Australia. And I'm ordering it and all my details were in there, and I had the shoes, the sweater, and I think one of the pair of the track pants in there, right? And it wouldn't go through. It kept saying no. And I'm like, I thought my card was blocked. I thought something was wrong. But it wouldn't do it. And after about 3-4 times of that, I realized what the issue was. It's a Nike product. So Nike does not allow that to ship outside of the market that it is intended for, right? So and mind you, the drop was at like 3 a.m. here. So it's 3 a.m. I'm in bed with the lights off and my phone just like trying to... I'm going to get this. And I was like, I've got an idea. Because I know my ex-girlfriend's address off by heart, right? I know my as well, Gabby, actually. So I was like, I know her address off by heart. So I was like, I'm just going to put her address in and get it shipped there. And then I'll deal with her later.
She's like, oops, sorry about that. Didn't mean to do that.
The shoes had sold out and the track pants had sold out. The crew neck was still available, which is what I actually got. I got it shipped to her place. So, yeah, it was last December. That's right. It was last December because I only just got that crew neck last week.
I was say that was all I was able to get to is the crew neck. But I feel like the crew neck is an underrated piece.
I actually think it's probably my favorite piece out of all of them right now.
I love it.
So yeah, so I got those Forces. Anything that's NY related, like I got the Air Max 98s that were the La Mezcla ones. I forgot the designer's name, the girl from New York that designed those. I got those. I got the Air Max 98s that were designed by the creative director from Nordstrom, Kim. It was inspired by NYC dance hall, like Jamaican dance halls. I've got those as well. So anything that's like fire, NYC related, I'm going to try and cop. So I got those Dipset Forces, and I got these. So a good friend of mine actually gave me the oop on these, right? And look, you can't sell them if somebody's giving them to you, right? I always say give them to me. He gave it to me in sense of for retail. So I can't sell them. And I didn't want to sell them because I love this shoe. But also, it's worth a lot. And you're like, part of it is like,
No, don't sell that yet. Sit on that one.
Nah.
Nice.
You gotta, that's
it's good enough for Anthony Davis to wear at his wedding. They are good enough.
True. That's true. That's true.
I'm gonna beat the shit out of these, and anyone that wants to look at me and go, how much these are worth? I'm gonna be like,
yep.
Exactly.
We're big fans of wearing the kicks. Wear your kicks out here. That's what we say.
What's the point of having them? It's like having a Ferrari and keeping it in the garage.
Got to drive that thing, man. Like, what's the point?
Got to drive that thing. That's what they're made for. So that's pretty much my rotation over the last week and a bit. A couple of Air Forces.
I love it.
I was wearing the other day, and then it started raining, so I was like, "Ooh, got to get out of the rain."
You mentioned that. You mentioned the Dipset collab. So I mean, would you say Dipset is was that like for you a thing? Like you're like, no, I'm all the way in.
No, Dipset. I'm like Dipset. Yeah. So one of my boys, he's like my brother, Corey Homicide Williams, famous streetball player from New York. So he's out here. I've known him for like years. He was hooping out here when I first met him back in like 2010. And obviously every time he comes back home to New York, we hang out like I said, like my brother. So he commentates for the local league down here. So at the end of the season, he goes back to New York, and his birthday is in August. So I can't remember the exact date, but his birthday was the day before the Dipset show, right? So he goes back to New York, and I was like messaging him like, yo, I'm jealous, man. Just the fact that you're back in New York, because I was just missing being over there. Very next day, he's backstage at Madison Square Garden at the Versus with the Locks.
Mm-hmm. So insane.
So Corey knows Jim Jones. He knows Cam.
Okay.
I don't know if he knows the Locks guys, but he's definitely good with Jim Jones and Cam.
That's so
I was
funny.
watching his IG stories from backstage. I'm like, I'm going to have to block you, everything. I can't see this.
So the washing that Dipset took at the hands of the Locks did not deter you from your love of Dipset.
You know what? I was
because they got washed.
Oh yeah,
they got washed. I'm a fan of the Locks, but I was never heavy into the Locks as a group.
More like Jada. You like Jadakiss.
More like Jada, yeah.
I like Jada, and I've got a couple of styles, joints on my iTunes or my music library and all that sort of stuff. But I was never a fan of the Locks. It was always more Dipset. And I think because Dipset was a movement. You know what I mean? Like, they were like a movement. And I've always just loved, I was never a huge fan of Joel's individually, like his music, but Jim and Cam,
of course,
big fan. Yeah, big fan.
That's awesome.
But
man.
yeah, they got watched. They got watched.
that to me was like Dipset were the kids who didn't go to class all year in college and just showed up for the final and were like, yeah, we're just gonna wing this thing. And I'm like, I don't know what's gonna work out so well for you.
Yeah.
That's a great analogy, actually, because that's what it felt like. That was like, yeah, we're just gonna, stroll into this, and we're just gonna like. I love that they were talking smack before that, like especially I was watching Jim Jones' IG, and he's like, yeah, we're gonna smoke the Lux pack, and all that sort of stuff. And I was like, oh, it's getting spicy.
They're
I like
ready,
it. You know what I mean?
No, it was great,
man.
The
actual verses was just like
not ready.
I was like, yeah, you were not ready because the Lux. See, when I knew it was over, when I saw Jada come out, I was like, oh, he got his Timbs on with his shorts. Over. I was like.
He's not playing.
I was like, rap. Y'all got no chance tonight. Nick, this was awesome.
It was good to see New York put on.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
It was great.
Of the music industry. So that was just great to see.
I mean, Versus is just awesome. What a great creation that was. And that night particularly was awesome for New York. And it was just nice to see. But Nick, man, this was dope, bro. I really enjoyed catching up with you, seeing you. It's been obviously it's been a couple years, man. Hopefully you'll be back in New York soon. Hopefully I can get myself down to Australia soon. That's a continent that's on the list. Gotta get it on there.
KNS on the road.
KNS on the road.
My friend.
Hey,
in the Australian streets.
Great idea. Guys, come down. You're more than welcome. You've always got a place to stay as long as I'm down here as well.
See that?
And we could do the sneaker tour in Melbourne.
Now we're talking.
Let me dust off my global entry truck. There we go.
Tell the people where they can find you, Nick.
You can find me on Twitter at Nick Metallinos, same IG, host The Last Shot on Little Birdie TV on YouTube, Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays, which would be Sunday, Tuesday and Thursday. And I do some work with NBA Australia now, but I don't think people in America can log on to the Australian NBA site. So
but I think some of your stuff though for NBA Australia, because the Sporting News owns it, comes out on the Sporting News stuff here. So
yeah.
So that works, my man. Listen, we appreciate it. It was dope having you.
Super dope.
I had a ball, guys. Like I can sit here and talk sneakers with you guys
forever. Yeah.
We love it, and you're welcome back anytime. And folks, that's another episode. Y'all know where to find us. We are, of course, part of that Count the Dings family. We're on that Bomb Network. So you'll find us with the original Bomb Show. You'll find us with Woke Bros, Machiavellian Fucks, which is their Succession podcast. You'll find us with Grown Up the Same, Rap Names. I mean, we're out here. It's a wonderful network. Make sure you're following it. And, of course, we are on all social media platforms at Kicks and Shit Show. Everyone have an awesome Thanksgiving, all that. We will see you guys soon. Peace.